Okay, remember they're changing my voice. Now, a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. Okay, and a happy heart makes the face cheerful, but heartache crushes the spirit. So therefore, the longing for the king to have true love is part of what allows the female to get to the tree of life, because the king is the gate, the true king, me. I'm the last king of kings, the last true king ever. Okay, the throne is established in righteousness and justice. Okay, the root and offspring of David, a martial arts king who's righteous and just, to detect breeding and ill-gotten gains and the injustice of them in a calculated manner cheating me. No one else will be a valid king again, because they're controlling breeding. So where would this king have to come through? In justice, and the Bible tells us no one can be established through wickedness, and also logic and wisdom tells us that. Pretty straightforward. You can't be from the long line of thieves and then expect your victims, from a long line of victims, to give you a land that's not there. Okay, you see what I'm saying? And while maintaining the land you stole from them. You see what I'm saying? So it's the same logic they're faced with being from a long line of people who cheated people like me and screened them out, and then saying, hey, we're going to give you the promised land in the sky. You cheated us out of ruling this land on this planet, and your offspring cannot redeem people to get them to the promised land in the sky. Write that down. You know, it's a little bit confusing, but the explanation is a bit confusing. Okay, it says, how can this be? Because that's what they are, right? It's like the son of a goat is a goat. The son of a person is a person. And no bad tree can bear good fruit. So the son of a long line of calculated thieves is somebody who's a calculated thief until redeemed. And if there's nobody who is someone that the king has validated, the most righteous person has said, God has inspired me to validate, which cannot be done in this case. I cannot rule in their favor no matter what, because the circumstances do not exist for me to allow someone else to continue, right? Tech breeding, cheating, ill-gotten gains, what have you, has made it so that nobody can continue after I'm gone. And on top of that, no one can continue leading on behalf of God after I'm gone. They can't redeem, they can't have a valid church, marriage, what have you. On top of that, they've been fuming me and poisoning me and hacking my brain. So the default ruling must stand no matter what. It's overkill. You see what I'm saying? So again, hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. So if you'd say to the king as a society that attractive women aren't going to date you by your actions, by their exact response, your cultural response, your individual responses, your social response, okay, then you're saying, wait till you get to heaven. So you're making them homesick. You're making them lovesick, right? Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. A longing fulfilled is sweet to the soul, but fools detest turning from evil. So it is evil to shun me, to date evil guys who are conforming to the corporate state. It is evil to shun me. And they don't have to be a cop or in the military or a government worker, okay? They're part of this system, and they will not gather with me. The one who does not gather with me scatters. One who's slack in his work is brother to one who's destroyed. So by default, when they're not obeying God through me, which is the obvious moral thing to do, so they're not being moral, okay, then they're evil. So a fool detests turning from evil. Okay, so a longing fulfilled is sweet to the soul. It'll be sweet to the woman's soul if she obeyed God through me, but she's too stupid, and she doesn't like the thought of turning from evil. She whines and whines about what will happen to her, or she has kids to feed, or whatever. Okay, kids that are turning into evil. So therefore, her excuse is she's attached to her children who are evil now because they're outside the divine order. Okay, and they detest turning from evil. Now remember, sometimes kids who are like 8 years old go to war. Kids who were 9 years old in Western history even would defend their farm with a shotgun or 6-shooter or whatever kind of gun they used back in the day. So a kid isn't quite a kid, so to speak. Only really, really small kids are. Okay? You know, so people who would use an excuse of a 4-year-old, they use an excuse for a 12-year-old. They use an excuse of a 15-year-old. You see what I'm saying? And it's stupid. It's stupid, it's stupid, it's stupid. Kids get sent to, I was in boarding school at 14 years old. You know what I'm saying? I was in reform school at about 16 years old. It's a stupid excuse to use your kids, especially if they're above the age of 9 or so, as a reason to not obey God through me. But they're too foolish and to accept that reasoning. Okay. 13, whoever scorns instruction will pay for it, Whatever respects a command is rewarded. Whoever scorns, whoever says, no, I can't go for that, I'm not going to go for that, right? It's a form of scorn. It's a scorn on a spectrum, right? They're not screaming up and down how it's not fair, but their heart is raging against God for putting them in that situation on a spectrum, or else their actions would reflect that it's not by obeying. So they're at war with God. They're fools. They're shunning the king. They're leading by example to shun the king. So if you're not an attractive female, you don't rally to me. You're telling the attractive female by your actions that you don't think she should rally to me. And same with everyone else too. All right. The teaching of the wise is a fountain of life, turning a person from the snares of death. Right. Teaching. The man is the head of the household. Okay. And Christ is the head of the church, which is supposed to direct man in their ways. So they're rejecting God's instruction right through the gate, right through his mouthpiece, which is me. And remember, they're changing my voice and doing bitch ass shit, but I'm saying 1 + 1 = 2 type of stuff. So they might say, write this down so you never forget this. Yes, they are interfering with my videos. Okay, they are messing with my brain. But when you hear things like the teaching of the wise is a fountain of life, turning a person from the snares of death, you know it's true. When you hear, regardless of how much they hack my brain, I am the gate. It's called a gate, right? You need to rally to me, okay, and listen to what I'm saying, okay? And if you have no viable counter argument, you should obey. It's 1 + 1 = 2. There's nothing you can say. You see what I'm saying as a counter argument. Okay. Good judgment wins favor, but the way of the unfaithful leads to their destruction. Okay, so this is from Proverbs 13. Proverbs 13:13, Proverbs 13:14, Proverbs 13:15. Good judgment wins favor, but the way of the unfaithful leads to their destruction. Walk with the wise. Verse 20, walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. So it's saying, walk with the wise. Take that marriage walk when you're walking down the aisle with the wise, those who are wise enough to obey God through me. For a companion of fools who detest turning from evil, who refuse to obey God. Attractive women in invalid marriages who refuse to submit to me. Attractive women who aren't in valid marriages. 18-year-olds, so on and so forth. Okay, even if you're 17, you should seriously contemplate running away from home if your parents won't listen to you. And when you're 18, you should run, not walk, to rally to me. It doesn't take a genius to see this. I would have accepted that logic at like 3 years old. Okay, it's obvious, it's obvious, it's obvious. A good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children, but a sinner's wealth is stored up for the righteous. That's Proverbs 13:22. A good person, someone who's smart enough and good enough and doesn't want to cheat God and the king, leaves an inheritance for their children's children. See how it connects to the children, okay? And the children can be sown in the spiritual realm with God, right? But one way or another, they're offspring, okay? But a sinner's wealth is stored up for the righteous. Anything that your children might have is going to go to the righteous, and they're going to suffer in eternal fire because you refuse to obey God through me. And your spirits, you should hate your cultures. Even if you don't obey God through me, why do you not hate the cultures and your cultural orders that you're in that made it so that I'm not going to have a valid successor, so your offspring are done? You should despise your cultures, your families, okay? Like the Proverb says, the righteous detest the wicked and the wicked detest the upright. It's straightforward. Why don't you hate them? Why don't you see you people are sick when you're embracing your cultures? Proverbs 14:10, each heart knows its own bitterness, and no one else can share its joy, okay? Each heart knows its own bitterness. You can't say, well, I'm going to date someone who's black. That doesn't help me at all. You say, well, I'll date your brother. So that doesn't help me. Each heart knows its own bitterness, and no one else can share its joy. You're not helping me when you feed the poor, okay? Especially if they're out the divine order. When you rally to me and push my war on poverty plan, okay, and obey God through me, that's when you're helping me, okay? No one else can share the joy. The oil of joy that comes from God comes from the King. I am anointed with oil. I am the gate. The King's heart is a stream of water that the Lord channels to those who please him. Proverbs 14:13. Even laughter the heart may ache, and rejoicing may end in grief. Even when I'm laughing, doesn't mean I'm not brokenhearted. Okay, and you're rejoicing, you're reveling. You're saying, hey, look at my kid's first birthday. Yay, isn't this great? Aren't we having fun? It's going to end in grief for you and those kids forever. You need to wisen up. You need to understand the situation. Even if God designed the world that even if you don't believe in God, okay, you're a dumbass if you don't put morality over the flesh. If you don't understand why being righteous is more important, okay, than being alive, then you're a fucking idiot. If you want your kid to follow in your footsteps, you're a fucking idiot. You don't understand why 1 + 1 = 2, where it matters most. And there's no excuse for being that much of a despicable parent. Proverbs 19:28. A corrupt witness mocks justice, and the mouth of the wicked gulps evil. Right? Remember, fools feed on folly. They detest turning from evil. Okay? So they're mocking at justice. Instead, they're joining the New World Order. They're a gang stalker mocking me. They have churches. Their churches are mock rituals. They're not obeying God through me. They're in a neo-colonial spirit, LGBT spirit, white, Zionist, racist Jew, unfair Jew, what have you, synagogue of Satan. They're in all kinds of these other spirits. And where they overlap and are combined with their kind of racket that they're taking place in kind of organized crime, kind of 5 families, except for in a church sense. Okay? They are playing their part in the global system, mocking God by pretending that they're right with God, by saying that they're a church, by reading from the Bible, right? A proverb in the mouth of a fool is useless. How much more the whole Bible? How much more a congregation that's supposed to be serving God, right? They don't know what they're doing. They're sick, horrible people. Proverbs 19:29. Penalties are prepared for mockers and beatings for the backs of fools. Proverbs 15. A happy heart makes the face cheerful, but heartache crushes the spirit. Proverbs 15. Okay, Proverbs 15:13. It's Proverbs 15:14. The discerning heart seeks knowledge, but the mouth of a fool feeds on folly. Okay, the discerning heart seeks knowledge of God, seeks to know the King. The attractive woman who is smart and discerning, there's a reason why they suck at baseball and martial arts, and they have to hook themselves to a machine and use performance-enhancing drugs and take hormones and da-da-da, because females are not naturally discerning. They can do their job as a mathematician or as a CEO. This doesn't take much discernment. The system is pretty straightforward. Once you join a secret society, you spread your legs for scum, it's not very hard to do your job. Okay, but when it comes to spiritual leadership, martial art leadership, they're not discerning. They are not valid leaders, and neither are any other male. Okay, I have the discerning heart to be morally precise. No one else does. If you don't know that, I promise you, you're stupid. If you don't know that by this video alone, for example, then you're dumb. You might say, I don't know who you are, but you know what I'm doing. While everyone else is rolling with the New World Order, you know what I'm doing. Okay, what I'm doing is clarifying what righteous dating is. What I'm doing is pointing away from the white, the Jew, the token minority, the LGBT, the gangs, and I'm pointing to an order of moral precision that no one else possibly fits. I have a 10-year, going on 10-year, up to $10 million challenge. Pay nothing if you lose, $60,000 if I'm not compensated for a quick 3-4 minute sparring match in the park. Other people hid from my challenge, tail tucked, except for about 6 challengers who I beat all of them. Basically flawlessly. None of them scored a single fair point because I was sabotaged. The ones who scored a point scored like 1 point to 10. Okay? And I was sabotaged when they scored it. Fumed, poisoned, dehydrated, you name it. All kinds of people sabotaging me, countless people. Okay? I'm the root and offspring of David, proven through single combat. What is responsible single combat? It's called sparring. Spirit. The spear. Even Jesus was stabbed with a spear, and in their system of being a cowardly Roman dog, the fools that crucified him were seen as important. But in the system of God's divine order, the guy who stood his ground and carried his cross and was screened out for moral precision is seen as important. The one who's from above is above all. The least in the kingdom of heaven is much greater than the greatest outside the kingdom of heaven. If you don't know that I'm right, that you're not supposed to reject the righteous man for financial stability, for your cultural norms, for your family's advice, for your friends' comfort, okay? For your petty emotions. And I'm the last righteous man ever possible. Other people, if they rally to obey, they will only rally to obey as dogs coming late. Okay? It's not the same thing. I estimate I have maybe 4 years, if that. And hopefully I die before then, because they're changing even the way I look to live. Maybe 4 years, if you're lucky. Okay? It's too late for anyone else to truly be righteous. They can only be redeemed as dogs, eating the crumbs from their master's table. That is being real. Israel is real. The lost children of people who keep it real. People who are honest enough to rally to me in timely fashion. Not some kind of dog coming late because they wanted to indulge in the evil of the world. That is fucking pathetic. That's not a man. Think about it.